But anyway, on to other news. From the bad stuff, Helldivers CEO steps down and moves into a new role. So, Arrowhead Game Studio CEO and Helldivers 2 director John, is it pronounced John? Johan? Okay, I'm bad with names. I can't even pronounce his last name, so it doesn't matter. Has announced that he is stepping down from the position to become the studio's chief creative officer, and hopes the move will allow him to focus more on Helldivers and its community. Which, I get it. I understand.
How bad do you have to fuck up for the CEO have to go, you know what? I'm doing your job now.
It's not that.
I'm joking, of course.
Yeah, I mean, it
might be that.
If it was other things, that might be the case. But I mean, their team seems to be doing a bang up job.
They are.
But at the same time, Johan here isn't exactly CEO material for something so massive. He's noticed that. He understands that. So he's put somebody else in place, a friend of his that he trusts, who's better at that position because he's more of a creative guy. And I get that. I understand that.
That's smart.
So he can now go down into the trenches and help with the things the game really needs, because the game has been struggling at things like balance and stuff, which is why you'll have like one gun that is like the definite gun, but then they have to balance it. Like when they shrunk the clip size of my breaker. I'm salty about that.
Okay.
Anyway.
Well, let me tell you something. You know why I haven't played Helldivers in like a while now?
Because we haven't gotten around to it.
No, there's actually a reason I haven't played it.
Sony?
That's one reason, but no.
Oh, yeah.
When something says armor piercing, it needs to fucking pierce armor.
It does.
No, it don't.
But it does.
I have guns that say armor piercing, light armor piercing, medium armor piercing, but
And
I don't know. I don't know what
the problem is. We don't understand what is light armor versus heavy armor.
Thank you. And also, if I see something that's medium armor piercing, I was like, oh, light armor piercing. Maybe this will work on a charger. It doesn't. Okay, I need medium armor piercing.
Heavy armor.
Let me get to that. I get a weapon that says medium armor piercing. I go to shoot. It doesn't work. Well, now I need something that has heavy armor piercing. Oh, wait, there isn't.
Yeah. The primary weapons aren't designed to be able to take down the big guns. That's what the stratagems are for. I get that. But what I think what Chad needs personally is a codex of the bugs and bots.
Yes.
So he can look at it and go, oh, those joints are medium armor or light armor, which means if I hit the joints of the TI-83s, they'll go down.
Well, another issue is that
then you have to work on your aim.
Kiss my ass. Another issue is with that is the mechs. The mechs should be like, oh shit, they're coming kind of thing. And the mechs are just paper dragons. You get in it and then you blow up.
Yeah, there was actually talk about that at one point. And I don't know if they fixed it or not. Because the things you call the mechs for are heavy hitters, unfortunately.
They don't do
and
that.
Then the heavy hitters get one hit and blown up.
Yeah, like I can't take down a charger with a mech.
Yeah, apparently the mech is designed to take down the hordes of tiny things. But they were also, at one point, there was another mech they were looking at adding too. So,
well, no, they are supposedly is adding a second mech, but I'm like, you guys ain't got the first one right yet. If I shoot a giant rocket out of a mech, it should fuck up anything that hits.
It's not a giant rocket; it's the standard rocket.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the fact that I can't even take out a Bile Titan with it, I should be able to blow up the armor off of it.
it actually does feel like the missiles were weaker, but I think they actually addressed that too, if I remember correctly. You just haven't used it since.
Yeah.
The mech was definitely underwhelming. I'm not gonna lie. That's why I've not really unlocked it. It was just underwhelming. But at the same time, they've added things, they've tweaked things since then. You just haven't been back to try it out. I mean, they have walkers for crying out, or not just walkers, but they have the big, Hoth moving 4-legged whatever things now.
Well, see, that's my problem. Is they're doing more with the enemies that we can't even kill than they are us able to defend and fight them. So it's
they've been releasing things too for that. I mean, there was a whole set of weapons coming out when you last played after the last set that just came out.
Yeah, and every time I'm seeing a lot of people going, "What is this?" And I'm like, "Oh, great."
No, I don't see that. I see people loving the new stuff, so and talking about how overpowered it is. It's just not my play style. Anyway, I think the stuff that came out right about the last times that we were playing, people were talking about how that last rifle on the thing is like a one-shot kill from a lot of stuff that normally wouldn't be a one-shot. The problem is it's got a clip of 5. So it was the explosive pack or something, the explosive war bond thing that they were doing.
Okay.
And then since then, they've had the Arctic one, and maybe they've got another one out. I just hadn't paid attention to the news since the Arctic one.
But what I've heard from CEO becoming in his plans for the game as the creative officer sound great. Kind of dialing back the balancing to kind of get a better scope on it. I remember him saying that. They talked about getting rid of the hazards and the reduced stratagem for higher difficulties. So
that was just planetary hazard things.
Yeah, the planetary hazards seem to not really go as they had anticipated, I guess.
I hope they don't remove them because I loved them. I'm sorry. I know some people have a habit of jumping in the fire and staying in the fire and letting the fire creep up on them. But aside from that, I enjoyed the hazards. I never really had a problem with them. It was just a pain when you were down one stratagem. That hazard I absolutely hate and will avoid for the remainder of my life. Other than that, I was fine with all the hazards. I didn't really have any issues with them. They were fine. They were great. They brought in a new dynamic that you had to look out for.
I liked them too. I'm going to be I like them, but
better transversing of the map would be nice, which, the addition of a vehicle they were talking about would help with that. Of course, the downside is it's a one-time thing, and once it blows up, and it's probably going to be easily blown up,
Well, also, I think with the tornadoes, I think they need to dial back the fire tornadoes. I think they need to dial back the amount.
No.
There were times where I saw 20 tornadoes just.
Well, yeah, it was covering the whole planet.
Yeah,
it was fun. I think they need to dial back the fire damage to the player.
Yeah.
And increase the fire damage to the bugs, because that was one of the other lackluster things, like the incinerator. Whatchamacallit?
Flamethrower?
Shotgun.
No, okay. Shotgun. Yeah.
It was great. I love it, especially on the bugs. The problem is because not once the fire was bugged. So if you weren't the host, any shots that put things on fire didn't actually put them on fire, it turned out, for a while.
Wow.
Which is why when you were using the incinerator breaker, it did more damage than when I was using incinerator breaker because you were hosting. And I was like, this gun sucks ass. And you're like, no, it's fucking amazing. And I'll watch you melt something. And I'm like, well, I'm not getting that. What the hell?
Oh, shit.
Which is why I swapped from that to the other breaker. Because it just did better.
Well, I think they also should make it so that different types of damage is more better used on the different enemies. So like if you're fighting,
it is. Like fire is more effective on the bugs, while explosive is more effective on the robots.
Yeah, I think not even explosives should be that effective on the robots. I think it should be power weapons.
Define what a power weapon is, because I don't know.
Lightning, zap.
Oh yeah, I think that did better too. But there was only like 2 guns in the whole game that have Tesla properties.
That's what I'm saying.
On a tower.
Yeah, add more of them, and then make it.
Came in that war bond, so one was a secondary weapon.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, a few more of those would be nice, or something with ice properties would be cool too. Cryogenic.
Yeah.
But yeah, they needed to increase fire damage because it was kind of lackluster. Because napalm was useless.
Oh yeah.
Like I love the idea of napalming a hole that a bug breach. Great, chef's kiss. The thought of them coming up and burning to death as they come out. Problem is, it didn't do enough damage to even kill the tiny ones half the time.
Yeah, unless you were the
Some
host.
of them would die, but the others would all swarm out anyway. So they had to buff that. But then when they buffed that, it also did increase damage to the player. So if you barely stepped in fire, you died immediately or had to immediately use a stem.
Yeah.
Just to survive, because there was no surviving just your foot standing in a piece of fire for a split second. They need to reduce the damage to the player with fire while increase the fire damage to enemies.
Yeah, that would be a great improvement for sure.
And the 50 caliber, the 500K bomb needs to be fixed.
Oh yeah, I heard they were going to fix that. I don't know.
We drop these hell bombs on things, right? But I feel like the 500 kilogram bomb that they drop should go off more power, with more power than the freaking hell bomb.
Yeah, it should cover a bigger range too. It should be oh god, run.
It should be that oh shit, here's a nuke button, because you can use it one time in the match. It needs to match the power. The power of it needs to match the usage.
And
half the time it misses because it's not very accurate anyway.
Yeah.
When it
the damage is reduced the further from ground zero you are. So.
And it needs to be a much bigger thing. If I drop that in the middle of a giant nest, it should be enough to take out that nest. It doesn't have to be bigger than that, but it should take out the entire big thing.
Yeah.
If I threw it in the center of like a large hive, right?
Yeah, it should be able to.
Should be big enough to decimate that. I think if they worked it to do that, then it would be worth its cost. But I mean, I was so excited to get that thing, and then found out how I was better off bringing a strafe run or something.
Orbital laser.
The orbital laser, yeah, definitely the orbital laser. It did more work than that thing does.
Yeah.
But just the standard bombing run. Not the first one you get, but like the second one or something that you have access to from the Eagles.
Yeah.
So, that was way more useful. It did more, that was more strategically useful to me than the 500K was ever.
You could take out small and even some medium nests with it.
You could take out the large ones with several of them.
Yeah.
I mean, you take one, you throw it to the other